We're brand new at this. We really don't know everything about everything. We know just enough to get ourselves in trouble.
Chuck and I went up to the ranch, just the two of us, a couple weekends ago to add some insulation to the kiln in little spots where we felt like the hot air was escaping. We are praying that this does the trick and gets our logs nice and dry so that this wasn't a complete waste of our time. We'll find out. How many more do we need?
Well, we'll keep using 12 inches the whole way. So we're gonna need,
Oh, so we're gonna stack like on top.
no, we're coming across the bottom.
Okay.
So, paper side up. No, yeah. Kind of get it flat down. Working in there.
There is no doubt it's getting hotter in here.
No, you're not seeing nothing.
Yeah, careful.
All right, so today I wanted to bring Christian along, my oldest son, and he's really been the kind of the mastermind behind the configuration of the electronics, the fans, the solar panels, and the battery system, the inverter, all the different things we had to put together that are just, beyond me. And so he's done all the research. Christian also was the one who scaled this model up. So we doubled the height, we doubled the width. We don't think the width is really the issue, it's the height. And the reason we're having some challenges getting enough heat is all our heat's trapped up above this kiln because it's 15.5 feet tall, roughly, Christian, something like that. But I wanted Christian to talk a little bit about the configuration of the electronic system. So Christian, why don't you kind of give us an overview of what went into putting this together?
Sure. So, just from a kind of high level overview setup, the goal was we don't have power out here right now. AEP hasn't hooked us up yet. So, we needed to be able to run fans to circulate air in there. So, we went with a solar panel setup. It's the logical solution in most cases. So, we don't know a whole lot about solar. This is really our first foray into solar tech in any way, shape, or form. So, we were like, well, we know nothing about it, especially me. So I went to companies that I knew made good stuff, decently good stuff, and at least had solutions in place for the dummies. Goal Zero was the first one that we chose. They have we'll put the exact product description in the link below in the description, but it is a 200 watt panel with a solar charge controller on the back side of it, and it comes with a kickstand. It's part of the Boulder series, I believe. So we have that, collects the sun, and then runs it through the solar charge controller to a battery that we have, which is an Optima yellow top deep cycle battery. I did find from online research that the deep cycle batteries that you would typically use in marine or heavy automotive applications tend to be better for solar stuff, at least from what the people online were saying, just because they're able to handle being charged and discharged more fully better than a traditional lead acid battery for a car would. And then that runs to a inverter. So we're taking 12 volt DC power to turning into 120 volt AC. We ended up getting an inverter that peaks at about 2,000 watts and then runs normally somewhere in the neighborhood of like 12 to 14, I believe. I can look up the specs and put them down below as well. But that then powers the 4 fans that we have inside. Each one of them on the highest setting pulls 45 watts and maybe 4 or 5 amps a piece. So we're sitting pretty close to the maximum that we can with that inverter. It's probably a little bit small. If we were to add another fan, we'd probably be overloading it in all honesty, but it's just right for what we need right now. The one shortcoming that we have is we actually need another battery, and we need to add another solar panel, which we have a Renogy solar panel sitting over there. And when we go over there, we can talk about some of the differences that we found just in kind of the initial look over with them. But I do need to add another battery just so we can run those fans longer, because the one Optima Yellow Top doesn't have enough juice to make it through a full 6-hour fan cycle that we've got.
Good, let's go over there and take a look.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're gonna talk now specifically about the solar panel here. So Christian, why don't you talk about this one, which is the Goal Zero Boulder 200 briefcase is what it says on the package.
Yes, so it's actually not necessarily intended to run a solar kiln. So this is designed more for like a camping RV, small like temporary grid down kind of situation where you need a couple hundred watts to power maybe a laptop or charge a couple phones, camera batteries, maybe run a really small fan in a tent, that kind of thing. That's what this is designed for. It's small enough to go in the back of a car, most SUVs. And you've got enough power with you pretty much everywhere you go, unless you're trying to run big power tools or fridges or things like that. A nice thing about this that made us really want to get it was that it comes with a solar charge controller on the back side. So it's one less piece we had to buy. Yeah, we probably paid a little bit more for that than if we'd purchased a separate charge controller and done all that, but we really didn't know what we were doing, so we figured we'd get, if I can get 2/3 of the way there with a solution that someone's already made for me, I'm gonna do that at least the first time around, just so I know what's up and understand why they did what they did. So this tells us, how much sun it's getting, the watts, amps, volts it's charging at, all that. That then flows into eventually what will be these 2 batteries, but currently it's just this yellow top right here. So it's just real simple Anderson hookups to connect them.
Nice name.
Yeah, I know. And then it runs to the inverter. This is a Kinverch inverter. I read that they're real popular with RVs. This one is actually Bluetooth connected. So you can set, the goal was you could set time for it to turn on and off with your phone. Realized it was on a single use basis. So you set it and it would turn on, run for that time, and then turn off. But if you left, which we're not here all the time, so we need something that would automate every day, it wouldn't turn on but the day that you set it for. So instead we went and we got a timer, like a Christmas tree light timer. So thank God for Brooke, because I had no idea that was a thing. I guess problems of being a young single guy, I don't really have a Christmas tree. But we got one of those, and that now runs when our fans turn on and off. We've got it set for a 6-hour cycle. So that's how the setup works. One of the problems that we realized, and I didn't know this until we kind of got into it, so maybe I can help you guys out beforehand. When it says 200 watts, doesn't mean it's always running at 200 watts. In fact, that is under like the best, most ideal conditions. It's like saying that you'll get 8 hours of use out of your phone battery and you probably only get like 4.5, 5. It's under the perfect conditions. So we needed another panel. So we were like, well, we know what this one does. Let's go with a Renogy. It's a pretty reputable company from what I understand. And the panels were readily available, but the difference is that one, Goal Zero uses their own proprietary connectors because they want to be special. That's fine, it makes sense. But when you're trying to integrate and daisy chain with other solar panels, you have to buy adapters, which are not exactly the easiest things to get your hands on. This also came with no stand hardware, no cables of its own. So you're kind of starting from scratch on this. So yes, it is half the cost, but you're going to eat up a good portion of that just getting the other materials that you need to get to this. So that is another kind of semi-hard lesson that we learned.
Yeah, I think if we were going to redo this right now, just for ease of use, I'd have spent the other extra $200 or whatever, the difference between the two, and gotten another Goal Zero, doubled the capacity, and kept it really simple. But
Right.
another lesson to learn. We'll use these panels in different places, so it's not, again, another one of those things where it's really not a loss, but does it help us get where we want to go in the short term? Not sure yet.
No, I mean, we haven't taken a huge step back. We're just kind of stepping sideways.
Yeah. All right, so we're up here in the solar kiln, and want to talk a little bit about the fans and how we configured them and kind of the layout here. Christian, if you could talk about why we hooked them up where we did.
Sure.
And there's 4 fans in here, and why don't you just talk about the configuration?
Sure. So these are Chicago electric fans that we got at Home Depot. I think they were maybe $39.99 a pop. We might hit them on a sale. But the main goal is each one of these effectively moves about 950 cubic feet of air per minute on high, with the volume of air that we have inside of here accounting for 50%, roughly 50% air leakage allowance. We needed to move a lot of air pretty quickly in order to get good circulation around the kind of lumber that we're drying. So we went with 4 of them, tried to space them pretty equidistant, and then basically just point them in line with the angle of our roof so that the airflow generally bounces down, around, and then through our lumber stack.
So the air is going to come from the fans, blow down along the edge of the rafters, down behind. We've got a gap behind the logs. That air then is supposed to, then the idea is that it then comes back through the logs and out the backside of the kiln, right?
Right. The other side of that too is these are 3-speed fans. So if we find that we're moving too much air and we're not able to keep the temp high in here, or if we're moving too little air and we're having fears of the wood starting to mildew, we can control the volume of air that we're pushing on a given basis just by climbing up here and reducing the speed or increasing it.
R3 insulation we put in here, not super heavy on the whole back wall and the side walls. We did not do the front wall here. It's just got plastic in front of it as a barrier. And we're still having trouble getting the temperature up, but we think it's probably almost unsolvable at this point just because of the height of the kiln. But what other, we're going to try something else today.
Yeah, there's another possibility as well. We realized a couple of days ago that we put far too much lumber in here. I designed this for 2,000 board foot of lumber, and currently we're sitting at about 4,500, something around there. So we're well over 2.5 times. So it's very possible that the wood is acting like a heat sink. And that's a short-sighted instance on both his and my part. We didn't think about it. We were like, well, we built it for 5 high, so we can stack it 5 high with these beams that we've got. And well, I mean, yeah, just because you can doesn't mean you should. So we're gonna try that as a last resort before we go bring some butane heaters in here or something. But we definitely got to get this lumber dry. There's not a whole lot of other options. So I'm hoping that will solve most of the issue. If not, we'll make it a greenhouse.
That's right. Live and learn. Live and learn. It'll be a great greenhouse. It'll be a multi-purpose facility. Brooke and I are talking about making it a 2-story greenhouse on part of it, where we can on the backside actually have a second level for things. So we're planning. We're not going to waste all this effort we put into this thing, but we said in one of our videos it could be a colossal fail, and it is very close to kind of becoming that. But we do think the lumber, we're going to test it again today, and we do think that the logs are actually making progress, and it may just be because they're out of the rain.
Yeah.
Which you don't need to build this to keep them out of the rain, but we'll see. We're going to compare it with the outside logs that are sitting out there versus the inside and see what the difference is.
Yeah. And one thing I do want to say about this whole process, just for the uninitiated or those guys that know, this is super iterative. We're brand new at this. We really don't know everything about everything. We know just enough to get ourselves in trouble, frankly. So we're sort of figuring this out as we go, not just in the kiln, but pretty much everything we're doing here. So with that, like, be patient. We're not trying to be clickbaity when we say, is this going to be a fail? Like, no, it very much could become one. We're about one step away from that becoming the end result of this, several month project. So it's, yeah, we're not trying to we're not trying to mess with you. It's legitimately just our day in and day out kind of emotional ups and downs with it. So
it's what we do.
Yeah.
It's what we do. We try to figure stuff out, and the good thing about that is if it's a fail from a wood solar kiln perspective, and that it's still an if, we have a hope, we have a chance of it working. But if it's a fail, we don't have a lot of money in this. So we had the logs are off our land. We sawed them right here, about 200 yards away from here. We have a lot of labor from the boys, myself, Brooke, Bree, and neighbor kids. I mean, we put a lot of effort into this. But again, at the end of the day, we have a nice structure that we'll be able to use for something going forward. So definitely not a waste from that perspective.
Yeah.
But we'll keep you posted. All right, so what you got going on today, Christian?
So I am in the process of wiring these two batteries in parallel, like we talked about yesterday. So the goal here is that we will double the capacity for us to store a charge. And hopefully that can help balance out some of the shortcomings we're having with the fan run times. The other side of that is we do need to get the solar panel up and connected to this Goal Zero panel, or we need to replace that with a Goal Zero depending on what our decision is. But either way, we do need to make that decision relatively quickly. So I'm working on getting us set up on the first part, and we'll roll from there.
Sounds good. And this is right now, this is only just to let the fans run longer on a single charge.
Correct.
Until we get the other solar panel.
Nice thing is too, if our battery capacity is higher than the total capacity for charging, then we will be making the most available use of the sun that we can until we get another solar panel. It's like this weird balance you got to constantly go back and forth on.
The log cabin builder starts cutting the logs for our cabin on Monday. So, as much as we'd love for these logs to stay in the kiln longer to dry more, we got to move them out to get ready to be built into our future home.
Now he's just going to slide it on out. Hopefully it'll come out easily. There it is. Now Christian drives totally blind for this section. We got the doors off. We're gonna pull out our first load. And we did some moisture checking yesterday. Unfortunately, we don't think we gained any real progress other than keeping these logs in good condition for the last month. But I think they've been in here 4 weeks. And so now we're gonna take them out and turn them into a log home anyway, so it'll be just fine. Pick them up, take them out.